All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Jukebox Hero to the very first episode of the Elden Ring All Bosses walkthrough. Been my plan for these walkthroughs is to do them for all the Souls games. We've already done them for Dark Souls 1 and 3, so if you haven't seen those and you want to check them out, go ahead. I've got a card up in the top right corner for that. But yeah, if you are new to Souls games, Elden Ring is your first introduction to FromSoft. Welcome. These games are some of my favorites of all time. Elden Ring is hands down my favorite game of all time. I have so many hours put into this thing. It's infinitely replayable for me, and just so much to do. The bosses are amazing, the combat's fun, just so much in this game that I love. So again, if this is your first Souls games, welcome. And after you beat Elden Ring, hopefully this walkthrough will help you get everything done that you need to, and will be a good resource for you. But yeah, after you've beat Elden Ring, I highly encourage that you check out some of the other From Software games. The Dark Souls trilogy, Bloodborne, Sekiro, all of them are fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and do a new game. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be capped out on files. Yep, no surprise there. So we'll go ahead and delete one of our randomizers. Yeah, we'll delete that one. And get right into the character creation screen. So at this point, you just need to pick what you want for your starting class. When it comes to Elden Ring, it is different in regards to like the other Souls games when it comes to your starting class, because you level up so much in this game, and there's a lot of opportunities to change your stats around, that it really doesn't matter too much what class you decide to go with to start. So, any kind of build that looks like, something you would enjoy, go with it. If you're looking for something that's the best like quality build and it's going to get you the most bang for your buck right from the beginning, highly recommend the Samurai, and that's what we're going to do for this playthrough. As a Samurai, you start with the Uchigatana, which applies bleed status with it every time that you hit, and bleed is incredibly strong in this game. Anytime you can kind of spec into a bleed build, you're going to be setting yourself up for success in this game. So we'll have you enter your character name. It really doesn't matter all that much because you're never going to see it aside from just the character creation screen itself. We'll stick with type A. You can choose between like a male or female body. Age, young, doesn't matter. Okay, origin, that's again where you choose your class. So if you want to go through the classes and see how the stats are going to change, what your starting weapons and stuff are, then you can just go through there. Wretch, I wouldn't recommend choosing that unless you are ready for, just giving yourself a bigger challenge from the beginning. I have a run on my channel of trying to beat all the bosses in this game on level 1. It's very hard to do even for a veteran, so definitely don't recommend that unless you are really ready to challenge yourself. So we're going to stick with Samurai. Keepsake, this is a gift that you get to start the game with. So there's some definitely solid choices here. The Crimson Amber Medallion just gives you higher HP if you do that. Runes, just some money that you can start out with at the beginning of the game. Golden Seed, this is what gives you an extra charge for your Sacred Flasks, which is your source of health in the game. Fanged Imp Ashes, that's a pretty good one, but you're not going to be able to use it right away until you get the Spirit Calling Bell, and I'll go over that once we actually get to that point of the game. Crackpot is something that's used to be able to craft throwable weapons, so that's what you can use that for. Stone Sword Key lets you unlock locked areas and different sub areas within the game. The Bewitching Branch lets you, if you hit an enemy with it, they become your ally and they'll start attacking other enemies. So that one's kind of cool, but it is temporary use. Boiled Prawn is something that raises your attack and defense. Very good thing. And then Shabiri as well, if you're, again, going for a challenge run, then that's what you do because it will attract enemies' aggression more frequently. So what we're going to do is the golden seed, because again, it's just nice having that extra flask charge from the beginning of the game. All right, for this choose-based template, this is like if you don't really, know how you want to customize your character and you want to go with something pre-built, there's some good options here. Or if you want to like start from one of these and then customize it further, that's an option available for you. Since we've played this game a billion times, I've got a bunch of favorites on here that we'll definitely pick from. But if you want to fully customize your character as much as you want, by all means, you can just go through all the alter skin, face and hair, and body, and get the character to how you want it to be. We're going to go with our Darth Maul build because I think it looks super cool and matches all the armor pretty well, so we're going to stick with that. And yeah, that is it for the character customization screen. So let's go ahead and finish. So with this game and the other walkthroughs that I've been doing, I mostly skip the cutscenes in the game. I encourage you to obviously watch them on your own. But for a walkthrough, they're not really necessary to sit through. So we're going to be skipping this very first cutscene and open up in the Chapel of Anticipation. Now, depending on if you got like deluxe editions of the game or whatever, or pre-ordered, you'll start out with some of those emotes that you saw right away, and those gestures can be accessed from right in this menu. All right, I'm gonna pick up this item over here. This is an online item, Tarnished Wizened Finger, that lets you create messages on the ground just like this, but again, that's an online only thing, so if you're playing offline like I am, then not really anything to worry about. Okay, if you have played other Souls games before, usually A is the action button in those games, A or X or whatever. However, A is now jumping in this game. Dedicated jump button in this, so now Y is going to be your action button. So I definitely have a bad habit of mixing the two up all the time, when I'm rotating between games. So if you need to readjust yourself, totally understandable. All right, in the Chapel of Anticipation, there's really nothing to explore here, so you don't need to, worry about looking around the building or anything like that to start out. You are able to come back to this area later in the game where there will be items available to check out. But as we come in here, we're going to come face to face with our very first boss, the Grafted Scion. Full disclosure, I suck against this thing. I have never found like a good way to face this thing, so we're probably going to die to it, but it is possible to beat it. Although the only reward is souls. Sorry, not souls, runes, which you can use to level up and buy items. And there's the death. Like I said, I really suck against Grafted Scions, but I don't really care to learn them. All right, another cutscene is going to play here where you're dumped down into this cave. Again, if this is your first time playing, please watch the cutscenes. They're definitely informative, and a lot of them are really cool. For some of the excellent cutscenes, I'll probably still watch through those because I don't have the heart to skip through all of them all the time. All right, once you get to, we're in the Stranded Graveyard now. Once you get here, you're given two different flasks. The Flask of Crimson Tears and the Flask of Cerulean Tears. We're going to go ahead and unequip the Cerulean one. So that one is designed just for FP regeneration, whereas the Crimson is for HP. So this is your main source of healing. And you'll see that it's just immediately on your quick bar down there. And you'll press X if you're playing on Xbox anyway. I guess it would be square if you're on PlayStation, to consume those items. Also, as of 2 days ago, Elden Ring was announced for the Switch, so if you're playing on the Switch, that would be the Y button that you'd use to consume those flasks. All right. Now, you do have the option here to decide if you want to go down. This is the tutorial area. So if you've never played a Souls game before, highly recommend that you go down there. It has some basic messages to teach you of how the controls work and how gameplay works and stuff like that. If you don't want to bother through that, then you can just go ahead and straight up to that door. But since this is an all bosses walkthrough, and I mean all bosses in this game. We're going to every single catacombs, minor boss, field boss, everything that can be considered a boss in this game. We are going to be fighting in this walkthrough, and there is one at the end of this tutorial area. So we are going to go down and explore a little bit. All right, so I'm not really going to take a lot of time to go through like, you know, controls and stuff like that. If this is your first time playing, right away it's going to be giving you some notes and stuff in terms of how to play the game. So again, if you've never played a Souls game before, it's a very good little instructional area. Most of these things are going to die in one hit. You'll notice one thing that the game doesn't really give you too much information on is the difference between two-handing and one-handing. So one-handing will have a little bit of a different move set for it, and you'll be doing less damage compared to when you two-hand. Now, some weapons will have specific like scaling and stuff associated to the weapon that will give you more damage depending on how many levels you actually put into those stats. So if you look in the middle of the screen, you'll see the attribute scaling right there in the middle, and you can go to this little menu explanation thing to kind of find out what all these things on the screen means. But it tells you the degree to which the armament's attack scale with strength, and the degree which this armament's attack scales with dexterity, and it's the same thing with faith, arcane, and intelligence. So you'll see with our Uchigatana, it doesn't have any scaling with arcane, intelligence, or faith, but it does have D tier scaling in strength and dexterity. So what that tier means is, like, yes, it does have scaling, so the more you level up in those stats, the better it's going to be, but it's not at a super high rate. If you get up into the B, A, and S tiers, which S being the highest, that is giving you the most damage for leveling up in those stats. So just a little quick explanation as to how that works. You'll also see in the attack power in the middle here, you'll see that there's 115 plus 22. That plus 22 indicates what your damage is when you're two-handing. If you're one-handing, it is just the 115. So just a quick little explanation there in terms of, you know, how damage works and, you know, leveling and all that kind of stuff. Again, the game doesn't really explain all of that in depth, so it can be a little tricky to figure that on your own. All right, one thing with Elden Ring, you will always find little items and stuff throughout the game that are like natural plants or whatever that you can pick up. So just keep an eye out for anything that looks interesting. You'll likely be able to just pick it up as you walk by. I think we might turn the volume down a little bit. Just want to make sure that you're able to hear me all the way. Alright, this area up here is going to teach you how to use stealth. So you can crouch down with pressing in the left stick, and anytime you're in some like shrubbery or something like this, you are hidden from enemy view. This is the first Souls game aside from Sekiro to really have like true stealth in it, so pretty cool feature. You'll see that explosion of blood right there. That was the bleed status proccing. So for each hit with the Uchigatana, it's gonna build up their status. You can actually see it like on an enemy. But once that meter fills up, then they take a whole bunch of damage right at once from bleeding. So again, bleed is very, very good in this game. Right here is a Stake America. The game will explain how it works, but if this is your first time. But these are basically little checkpoints in case you die to a boss or something and you don't want to have to go all the way back to the last site of grace. This is an excellent feature that was added just to Elden Ring. All the like Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, they don't have this, if you die to a boss, you have to go all the way back to wherever the last bonfire you rested at. These things are awesome. You know if you have one, if you look in the top left corner with your like status bars, you see that little Statue of America there. That lets you know that you do have a stake checkpoint. So in case you die, you'll be given the option to respawn at the stake, or if you want to go back to the Grace, then you can pick that as well. All right, here we are at our boss, tutorial boss, Soldier of Godrick. This guy has been memed to death in the Souls community. He is literally just a normal enemy like that you'll find out in the world. But he's designed to be a tutorial boss for anybody who hasn't played the Souls games, so good little introduction. But he is just a little too easy at this point. Alright, a reward for doing the tutorial area is a gesture, strength. Alright, now that we've done that, we can climb up here. We have our next site of grace. Alright, so whenever you rest at a site of grace, that is going to heal you up all the way and restore your FP all the way as well. It refills your flasks all the way up, but it also respawns all enemies that you have defeated, in exception for bosses and mini-bosses. You'll see on this menu when you rest, if there's ever like a dot next to something, it means that there's an action you can complete in that area. So for flasks, because we started out with that golden seed as our starting gift, we can already add a charge to our flask, and there we go. Another thing we're going to do, because I'm not going to be doing like a magic build or anything, we're not going to be using FP very much. We're going to allocate our flask charges to make it so that we have more of the healing ones and none of the FP ones. So you can allocate that as you wish. If you're going with a magic build, you definitely want to have some cerulean flasks to help you out there. Alright, you see behind me this gray fog wall. We cannot go through it, and you'll see this little statue of these two imps. This requires a stone sword key. Well, this one in particular requires 2 to get in there. We don't have any in our inventory. We're just going to scratch our butt and be like, oh, we don't have stone sword keys. So we're going to come back to this once we do have 2 stone sword keys to use, but just be aware that's kind of how those keys work. Right, up here we'll keep the finger severer and the tarnished furled finger. Those are more online weapons you can use to do like online co-op and stuff like that with friends or just random people. But as we take the elevator all the way up, we've now reached the end of the Stranded Graveyard. And welcome to Elden Ring. Just an absolutely beautiful moment. I'll never forget my first playthrough, you know, walking out of there and just kind of taking everything in like I am right now. It's just, this feeling never gets old. I love this game so much. I'm very excited to continue on this playthrough, and if you found yourself watching this and you're, you know, excited to get into Elden Ring, I'm right there with you. This is an amazing game, and I'm really excited to play through all this game plus the DLC to show you everything there is with this game. Now, I'm not going to be picking up like every item or anything like that throughout the whole game because it's massive. There's so much to find, and it feels like every time I play through this game, there's something new that I discover. But as I mentioned before, we're going to be fighting every single boss. We're going to be defeating every boss in the game, which means all mini dungeons, side areas, legacy dungeons, everything in terms of that we are going to be doing. So But I do encourage you to just, like, in the open world, go out and explore, go find stuff. It's awesome. This game is just packed with so much content. So that will do it for this episode. Next episode, we are going to be exploring all of Limgrave, which is a huge starting area. There's definitely a lot to do in this opening part. So again, if you found yourself watching this, liking and subscribing does go a long way. And if you're interested in more walkthroughs for the other Souls games, this is definitely the channel to subscribe to. I've got plenty of content for that, and we'll be doing a lot more Souls game stuff in the future, along with other types of games. So again, like and subscribe if you can. But we'll go ahead and end this here and see you next time for Limgrave.